I have Brian Miller of Publicis.Sapient. How you doing, buddy?
Hi, everybody. Good.
Hey.
How are you?
I am fine. You do consumer research over at Publicis.Sapient, is that correct?
I do. So I run our global research practice. So I actually watch people use this stuff, or try to use this stuff, as the case often is. And I also work with people on the technology side, companies in the retail side, companies in the professional services side, to really kind of understand how they're addressing some of the challenges in the marketplace.
You're seeing it firsthand and you're figuring it out.
And I'm watching people in their homes and workplaces try and use it too, and the adaptations that they've made.
So that's what I think we talk about today, is a little bit of this kind of experience economy, as it were, and how it's working with the stuff that you see on the consumer side.
Yeah, great question. So, we hear a lot about marketing transformation, digital transformation, and what's so funny is I work for a company, that's our go-to-market, that's what we're about. People ask me to define it, and I'm kind of like, right? Because it's really about following consumers and where they're going. And so the emergence of on-demand services has really made it so their expectations of brands and products have completely flipped over. It used to be that they would come to us, right? They would come into our store, they would shop, they would see product, they would take it back, they would plan, they would have a list. Now they're expecting us to come to them, into their spaces.
Yes.
And really understand them innately, know what they're all about, and deliver. They also have really high expectations, and they get, they can be a little bit persnickety and finicky, right?
I was going to say, maybe
really
too high of expectations at times,
Yeah, and so the experience economy is really about existing players, helping them transform to kind of deliver in the spaces where people live and work and play, as opposed to just the spaces where they've traditionally come to us. And then it's also about delighting customers, because the other challenge is, doesn't everybody wish it was easy enough, just get a focus group together and be like, what do you want? I'll build it, right? And I've seen that happen before, and that's how you get, I don't know if you guys have seen the Homer Simpson episode where he makes the car.
Oh yes, everything is in it.
It has a propeller and a jet engine,
a waffle
and nobody
maker.
buys it.
Yeah.
Right? And it's sort of the same deal. So there's an opportunity for innovation, but it really comes out of earning the right to be in people's spaces and places, and then innovating in ways that are based upon the observations that you see there. And there are all kinds of examples of companies that are just starting to get into that.
It's interesting that is becoming more of a thing. Is there too much of that at some point? Do you see that being like, we are catering to the user too much? Is there a tipping point for that? I don't know.
That's a great question. It's overwhelming. It's overwhelming, right? So for consumers, everybody now is saying, I can solve your problems, whatever they are, right? And so it's really about nailing individual situations. So when I have a need, helping me solve that need, as opposed to coming to you and saying, you as a consumer, and saying, I have this massive breadth of solutions, because it is overwhelming.
It is, yeah.
Right? About 85% of the brand choices the consumer has on average in consumer products now is other. It's not a name brand, right?
Right.
And we've seen a lot of very big brands in retail, in CPG, in housewares as well, struggle, right, as of late, to kind of reclaim their preeminent place, right?
Yes.
I think the most recent news was Kraft Heinz had a multi-billion-dollar write-off, right? That's a household name. It's been part of the world forever, but people are changing. They're going for local brands, and other is really kind of taking over their category.
You should come up with a website, just other.com.
Other.com.
You might do really well.
Well, there's one, there was a brand-free startup. Do you remember who they were? I'm trying to remember. It was a company.
Brand-free?
Their whole idea is, we don't have a brand. We just have products
Pretty
and services.
innovative.
Their brand is no brand.
Their brand is no brand. Let's talk about a brand that has a brand, Carnival Cruise. I was looking up that you worked with them.
Yes.
And I thought that was a perfect example of this thing where before, when you got off the cruise, or so I hear, I haven't been on one, you would have all these pictures, and it was a very analog way to do it. It was very laborious, and it was hard to figure out which picture you wanted. Yep. Now you helped work with a digital solution.
Yeah, that's a great example of the experience economy. So people who plan a cruise don't typically plan it. They want to go, but and they know they're going to get on this big boat, and there's going to be lots of exciting, fun stuff to do, hopefully. For me, it's all about pool and massage, but for other people, what's it about, right? And so one of the things that we found was people didn't have an opportunity to convert their excitement about the experience they were about to have into a tangible plan. And there's so much to do on the boat. You get on the boat, especially if you're a family, you've got kids running around, you're like, what do I do first? How do I take care of the kids? How do I take care of myself, right? I had to save up all year to go on this cruise. And so we worked to build out a digital experience that really helped people plan, helped enjoy themselves when they're on the boat, go to the different areas, discover some new areas, and then afterwards remember what they liked the most and didn't like the most. So when they went back next time, they'd have a better experience.
And that is talking to the humanity of us. Like, what is the actual journey? Not just a fun tech product or tech solution, but something that we actually need the whole way through.
And we're coming to you, right?
Yep.
We're coming into your living room. You're not just coming onto our boat now, right? We're starting the experience in your life, and then you're seamlessly switching from your life to the cruise.
And that's what technology should do. That's pretty great.
Yeah.
You've also worked with Chrysler, I see.
Yes, for many years.
How'd you do that? What'd you do with them?
So we're the digital agency of record for Fiat Chrysler.
Okay.
And we work with them across web experiences, dealer experiences. And again, it's a very similar concept, right? Buying a car can be frustrating. It can be hard to understanding pricing and options and things like that. So part of what FCA has been about is simplifying the product purchase experience, making products easier to understand and simpler to buy. And then it's also making sure that we're giving people the right experience before they come to the dealership. Again, I come to you.
Right.
I fulfill your needs, and hopefully by the time you're at the dealership, you're excited, you know what vehicle you want, you're going to get in it, you're going to drive it. For me, it's Alfa Romeo, for sure.
Oh.
For everybody, it's different.
TMI, yeah. I think that's great, and I love the idea of the journey starting in the beginning, and then you kind of already understand what you want in that brand.
Yep.
What are some other examples that you've worked with?
Samsung, we have a great relationship with them, working across a number of different products. If you look at the Samsung experience, they're a great example of a brand that's moving where I think we need to go. I don't know if they're 100% there yet. I don't think anybody is, but you can live a Samsung life. It's a connected life. It embraces multiple different products and services, and it's about being in the spaces and places where you are. So I have a Samsung RoboVac, Samsung Smart House. I was an early adopter, by the way.
Oh, you're the early adopter
I'm the early adopter guy. But what I've been finding is they're getting better and better at knowing me. And it's led me to do things that I really wouldn't have done before. For example, I have a Samsung Smart Convection Oven. I hate to cook. Cooking for me is like, take something, reheat it, or a meal kit, right? I was really getting adventurous with the meal kits, but my stove is so cool and so connected, I'm actually starting to cook. And I never would have done that before, but they've made it so easy and so fun.
So it changes your behaviors.
Yeah, so I'm spending more time at home rather than eating out. I'm eating more healthily. By the way, my smartwatch, which I did not put on this morning because I had some cake and I didn't want it to know about it.
Oh, it should know about that.
Tracking how my eating habits are getting better. So it's creating kind of, I'm living better, I'm spending less money, I'm living a bit more healthily too. So I'm really excited about that.
What are the challenges you see in this space when it comes to, I mean, it all sounds good because it's catering to the consumer.
Yep.
But again, like I said earlier, is there too much of that, or can a brand get lost in its catering?
Yes, absolutely. I think we do run the risk of flooding the marketplace or just confusing people because there's so many choices. Nobody can understand all the choices out there. That's why I was actually really psyched to see Tina from Beta was here earlier.
Oh, Beta, we love Beta.
I love them.
Yeah.
I love them because, and if you think about traditional retail too, like Best Buy, did you know Best Buy will come into your house now?
Into my house?
They'll come into your house, they'll look and they'll say, what do you want to do with smart devices? They actually have a few hundred people who are trained to make recommendations.
That's right, I have heard of this.
And so they'll come in, and I actually went through it, and they were like, oh, I see you've got Nest, and I see you've got Samsung, so we'll stick to those two ecosystems. And they were
pretty cool.
They were providing me with some advice, and I did buy some things, and the Geek Squad will come in and install them for you, right? So it's a little bit of curation to help you kind of cut through the clutter a little bit. And I think it's going to be important for brands around the enabling side of this to make relationships with channel partners like Best Buy, like Beta, because they're going to be the connected life advisors, right? I think the mobile carriers also have a big role. Verizon, T-Mobile, Sprint, AT&T, Comcast potentially, because a lot of people, when they think about stuff that's connected, their brain goes to those companies.
Yeah.
And they do have a lot of knowledge and expertise that they can leverage into a delivery model. I think you're going to see a lot more of that happening.
Yeah,
consumers need it.
Like you said, the distribution part is huge, right? Like people can like that experience, but they need a way to get it. And so Best Buy, that sounds like a great experience.
Yeah, it's still fairly early, but when I went through it, it was actually exactly what you would want as far as a consumer. They really cut through the clutter very quickly, and they went from a list of thousands of SKUs down to 3 or 4 that were really relevant.
Yeah.
And then the other clever thing about that is once I introduce the technology, you're addicted, you're hooked, and now you're going to kind of build on that.
Yeah.
I think the other thing to address your question about too much, there's also the question of lock-in. You hear this a lot, right? People are in different ecosystems. Apple ecosystem, Samsung ecosystem, Google's got an ecosystem.
It's a huge question.
LG and some of the other, some of the Chinese brands are going to have their own ecosystems. And so the question is, how do you make it all work together? And I think that's another challenge. The category could fail to reach its potential if we're not smart about enabling customers first. If we're aiming to lock people in, it's a lot more difficult to kind of grow the market.
Right. Do we think, I've been hearing the trend that voice is the way in? So like voice activation can be the thing that we all use and we'll all agree on. It's kind of a, for all the different platforms?
It can be, but it's how you use it. It's about the use case. So, I live by myself. It's just me and my dog. So when he hears me talk, he thinks it's about food, but he always thinks it's about food, right? But what if you're in an environment with 8 or 9 or 10 people, right? Like a big family,
right?
It might be about whispering as opposed to speaking. And other times I just want to unlock the door. And so I have a smart lock and it's just hit the button on my phone as opposed to, Alexa, unlock the door.
Right, it can be over, you don't want to talk to everything.
So you really want to make it so that it's in the moment that I'm in, right? And understands kind of the limitations and also understands me as an individual. Maybe I don't like to talk, maybe I'm quiet. But it's also being expansive and supporting all of the different channels and ways of interacting with the technology.
Yeah, and understanding the person, going back to that, we were talking pre the video, that we're both ENFP, which is very rare, and being this kind of empath person, it's a totally different experience with my tech than we're going to have with other people.
Yep, and I think the expectations, we're an extreme example of the traditional customer moving forward, right? I feel hurt personally if a brand doesn't understand me now.
Yeah, it's in here,
right?
Yeah, it hurts.
It's like, how could you do that to me, big bank? Don't you know what you mean to me?
I don't understand. I'm not listening. That's the bank.
And they get it, right? You name the category, they understand that they need to be more personalized, but it's not just about personalized offers, it's also about reacting to you in a different way. And you're starting to see that in some of the connected technology too. Like, has Siri ever gotten you angry?
Oh, yeah.
And when you yell at Siri, she responds.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm sorry, I'm still learning.
She gets it.
Bixby, Samsung does the same thing, right? You say, I'm really mad at you right now, and he says, okay, I get it. Sorry about that. How can I learn more? And he actually introduces you. You can also change his gender, by the way. So my Bixby is male, but he'll say like, well, help me do better. And then I'm like, oh, okay, you want to improve.
And then you feel bad almost. You're like, oh, okay, I will help you.
As opposed to, how dare you not work?
Yeah. And that goes down a whole other thing we could talk about with AI, but we won't. That is genius. Is there anything else you want to talk about when it comes to this experience economy before we open up to questions?
Yeah, I think it's really just about, if you think about transforming and how you need to transform, it's really about throwing everything away and starting over from a clean sheet as an intellectual exercise, and then taking what you've got and moving it back into that strategy. Right, so I hear a lot of questions around from my clients about, well, isn't incrementalism, isn't refining and tweaking the way to go? Because we can layer on a lot of this technology incrementally, and the answer is yes for the very short term, but the risk you run with that is you get disrupted, right? You don't want to be BlackBerry when the iPhone launches.
Right.
And so it's a really important that you have what I like to call total customer insight. Who are your customers? How are they living? Not just in the funnel, but what do their lives look like? What are the moments that matter in their lives that lead to a need that they have?
Are they an ENFP?
Are they an ENFP? What stage in their life are they at, and how is that making them feel? Right? And you can look at other categories like banks these days. The smartest banks know about you. They know about probably where you are in your life stage. And instead of doing what they used to do, which is, hey, there's a sale on credit cards, get a credit card. Do you want a credit card? No, I don't want a credit card. They understand that there are going to be moments where you have a financial need, and then they'll be there with the product. And so they're working to earn the right to give advice to you in the moment that you need it, so they're more relevant. And I think the same is going to be true for our category as well.
Yeah, I feel like I got an email once that was like, do you need a loan? I'm like, do they know? that I'm not doing well financially. Real quick follow-up question before we go to Q&A. With the bigger brands you're working with, this is very interesting to me. Like you said, sometimes they have to upend the whole thing. And how have you seen like pushback? Like obviously they've been doing one way the whole time and it's been fine.
Yep.
And then you're like, you know what? We got to think about it a different way.
Yes, absolutely. So we developed a model at Publicis.Sapient called Return on Experience that allows us to show the quantitative impact of transformation. So in other words, I can start to look at what the incremental revenue is, and I can also look at how well we're performing experientially based on our customers' expectations. So as we start to drive transformation, it's not just a, hey, we should do this, because right, it's more about making sure that we have the right product and service mix, and that we're delivering on customers, and that we're making profit for ourselves. I will tell you, on average, $1 invested in transformation right now in the retail space, from what I've seen, yields about $18 in revenue on average. So
wow.
There's a lot of return out there.
That's an awesome metric to have.